In the heart of Brazil, where the streets echo with dreams and the gyms are filled with the hunger for greatness, one man is rising from the shadows to claim his place among the UFC's elite. Caio, the natural Borralho, a name now buzzing in the middleweight division, represents more than just raw talent. He is the product of relentless grit, unshakable discipline, and the unwavering belief that hard work beats all odds. Coming from the unassuming Fighting Nerds Gym, a place far removed from the spotlight of Brazil's most famous MMA hubs, Caio's journey is anything but ordinary. It's a story of an underdog fighter who turned every setback into fuel, every challenge into an opportunity. So, how did a fighter from an underdog gym in Brazil, one often overlooked by the mainstream, become one of the most promising middleweights in the UFC? Let's dive into the story of The Natural, a fighter who's about to leave an undeniable mark on the world of mixed martial arts. Born in the vibrant streets of São Paulo, Brazil, Caio Borralho grew up in a world where survival and success demanded resilience and grit. From a young age, he witnessed the highs and lows of life in one of the most bustling cities in South America. But rather than being consumed by the chaos around him, Caio channeled his energy into something greater, his passion for combat sports. While other kids dreamed of football glory or the limelight of mainstream sports, Caio's path was different. He was drawn to the discipline and focus of martial arts, a world where technique and mental strength were just as important as physical prowess. His exposure to fighting came early, with his first taste of jiu-jitsu at just 14 years old. The moment he stepped on the mat, something clicked. The art of submission and control resonated with him, and Caio knew, deep down, that fighting was more than just a hobby. It was his calling. Growing up in a neighborhood where struggle was part of the daily rhythm, Caio's environment shaped his mentality. In a city teeming with challenges, he learned to fight not just in the gym but in life itself. There were moments of doubt, moments when it felt like the odds were too high, but his relentless drive, born from his upbringing, never allowed him to quit. These formative years built the foundation for his mindset, one that could weather adversity and turn it into triumph. It was this early struggle that laid the groundwork for the fighter Caio would become. Whether it was battling through tough training sessions or overcoming personal obstacles, the fire to succeed never dimmed. With every setback, his resolve grew stronger, setting the stage for what would come next, a rise in the world of mixed martial arts that would challenge expectations and defy all odds. As Caio Borralho's passion for combat sports deepened, the natural progression led him to pursue a career in MMA. But unlike many fighters who flocked to renowned gyms in Rio or São Paulo, Caio's journey took an unexpected turn. He found himself walking through the doors of Fighting Nerds Gym, a place far removed from the spotlight, yet one that would come to play a pivotal role in his development. Fighting Nerds Gym, based in São Paulo, was anything but ordinary. It wasn't the kind of gym that boasted high-profile fighters or flashy marketing. Instead, it was a training ground where fighters who were often overlooked by the mainstream could forge their craft away from the media's gaze. The gym had a reputation for fostering raw talent and unearthing potential in fighters who thrived on discipline, grit, and innovation. It wasn't about fame or shortcuts. It was about becoming the best version of oneself inside the cage. Caio was drawn to the gym's unique culture. At Fighting Nerds, the focus wasn't just on the physical, it was about developing a fighter's mind and spirit. The training was intense and unconventional, pushing fighters to explore all facets of combat. Here, Caio learned that success in MMA was about more than just strength. It was about creating a fighter's identity, developing mental toughness, and honing technical skills in every discipline. Under the guidance of coaches who valued intelligence as much as raw power, Caio grew into a well-rounded athlete, blending striking with grappling seamlessly. But what set him apart wasn't just his physical ability, it was his mentality. Caio embraced the nerd ethos, always learning, always evolving, and never satisfied with just being good enough. As Caio's skills sharpened, his rise in amateur MMA was inevitable. His early fights showcased his tenacity, his hunger to learn, and his ability to adapt under pressure. His debut fight was a statement, a dominant victory that left no doubt about his potential. But it wasn't just his technical prowess that caught people's attention. It was the fire in his heart, a relentless drive that no one could ignore. With each win, Caio Borralho's name started to get noticed in the Brazilian MMA scene. His performances were consistently impressive, with his ability to handle adversity and finish opponents in spectacular fashion becoming the hallmark of his career. By the time he was ready for his next big step, the UFC had begun to take notice, and Caio, armed with the lessons learned at Fighting Nerds Gym, was ready to step into the big leagues. Caio Borralho's journey from the gritty mats of Fighting Nerds Gym to the grand stage of the UFC was anything but smooth. But when the opportunity finally came, he was ready. mentally, physically, and emotionally prepared to take on the best fighters in the world. His debut in the UFC came in 2021, and while it was just the beginning of his journey, it was clear that this was a fighter who had the potential to go far. Borralho's UFC debut at UFC Fight Night, Costa vs. Vettori, was a moment of pure anticipation. Stepping into the Octagon for the first time under the UFC banner, Caio was met with a mix of nerves and excitement. His opponent, the seasoned and well-rounded opponent, Jesse Murray, was a significant challenge. But Caio's relentless style and sharp striking caught the eye of fans and analysts alike. His technical skill and ability to flow between striking and grappling were immediately on display. The fight wasn't an easy one. Murray made sure to test Caio's stamina and mental fortitude. But Caio's composure under pressure, his unwavering belief in his abilities, and his precise strategy ensured that his UFC debut was a victorious one. In the second round, Borralho showcased a dynamic combination of striking and grappling, controlling the pace and dictating the terms of the fight. When the final bell rang, it was Caio's hand that was raised, securing his first UFC win and marking the beginning of his rise within the organization. The victory didn't just come from sheer talent. It was a reflection of the growth Caio had undergone since his early days in Fighting Nerd's gym. He was no longer the raw, unrefined fighter who had first stepped into that gym. He had become a seasoned competitor, blending his striking, jiu-jitsu, and wrestling into an all-around game that could adapt to any opponent. His next fight, a battle against the tough and gritty, the Beverly Hills Ninja, Jordan Wright at UFC Fight Night, Ortega vs. Rodriguez, was another opportunity to showcase his development. Borralho's technical improvements were evident here. His striking had become more fluid, and his control on the ground was near flawless. But what stood out most in this fight was his mental growth. As Wright attempted to put the pressure on him, Caio never flinched. Instead, he stayed calm, calculated, and patient, waiting for the right moment to pounce. And when that moment came, Caio Borralho took full advantage. A stunning knockout in the second round left fans and analysts alike in awe. Borralho had truly arrived. His striking was crisp, his footwork fluid, and his ability to read the fight in real time had reached a new level. No longer just a fighter trying to make a name for himself, Caio Borralho was becoming a legitimate threat in the middleweight division. Through these early fights in the UFC, Caio demonstrated the incredible evolution of a fighter who had learned not only to dominate, but also to endure. The raw energy and determination from his earlier days in Brazil had been tempered with strategy, technical precision, and mental toughness. Each fight added a new layer to his game, and it was clear that the natural was on his way to becoming a force to be reckoned with in the UFC middleweight division. Caio Borralho's fighting style is a well-rounded blend of striking, grappling, and tactical intelligence. On the feet, he's a fluid striker, using movement and angles to create openings, with powerful leg kicks that wear down his opponents. His striking is dynamic, making him hard to predict. On the ground, Caio's Brazilian jiu-jitsu skills shine, with top control and submissions that keep his opponents on edge. What makes Caio stand out in the middleweight division is his adaptability. He seamlessly combines striking, wrestling, and grappling, always adjusting to his opponent's strengths and weaknesses. His fighting IQ sets him apart, making him a true threat in every area of the game. Much like Israel Adesanya's striking or Robert Whittaker's all-around game, Caio is a complete fighter, and that versatility is what makes him so dangerous. The future looks bright for the natural Caio Borralho. With his well-rounded skill set and relentless drive, he's poised to climb the middleweight ranks and potentially dominate the division. Keep an eye on his rise. Remember, success in MMA, like in life, is built on hard work and mindset.